On the morning of October 7, 2023, Hamas militants launched a massive surprise attack from the Gaza Strip, striking deep into Israeli territory. Israel then retaliated with a series of airstrikes inside Gaza. Israeli Prime Minister Netanyahu declared that Israel is officially at war with Hamas. He then gave orders to his security forces to retake any Israeli villages that have Hamas militants in them. Hamas military commander Mohammed Deif said, quote, "This is the day of the greatest battle to end the last occupation on earth," end quote. So according to Hamas, this is only the beginning of a very long battle that they've been planning for. The Israeli-Palestinian conflict is an incredibly sensitive and complex battle to cover. So I want to be upfront with you and let you know that I'm going to do my best to be as unbiased as possible and to focus on the ground war itself. What I'm not going to do is try to litigate the entire history of grievances between Israel and Palestine.
Yeah, because those grievances span centuries. So yeah, we kind of don't have time for that. Exactly, Katai.
Which is an important aspect to the conflict, but it's beyond the scope of this video, and you can easily find that information elsewhere. We hear about skirmishes between Israel and Palestine frequently over the past few years, but what's different about this attack is its level of sophistication and coordination. Because prior to this attack, Hamas had used very different tactics focusing on mortars, kamikaze bombings, rocket attacks, and small arms ambushes against Israeli defense forces.
More than 200 people were killed, the vast majority of them Palestinians. Israel says many of the casualties were militant fighters.
This is a major departure from the old strategy of harassing attacks. Hamas militants...
Yeah, because harassment doesn't do anything, bro. You gotta strike hard.
Attacked via flying in by paraglider, infiltrating from the Mediterranean Sea on boats, and tearing down barriers to move over land. So what we're going to do is analyze the situation on the ground using open source intelligence tools. At the end, we'll talk about the potential reasons for why this might be happening right now according to both sides. Take a look at this live conflict map here. It shows us geotagged evidence of what's happening on the ground in real time, linked to GPS coordinates. This Israeli checkpoint appears to have been overrun about 10 kilometers away from the 1950 Armistice Agreement line at the Gaza.
Here we have...
Well, fuck me. Saw somewhere that Hamas is already asking for a truce. It's probably because, I can't remember, I took this with a grain of salt when I heard it, but it's probably because, you know, we got involved. I think. And I've already heard I've already heard President Trump, or not President Trump, I've already heard Donald speak on this topic. He's like, you bet your sweet fucking ass we're gonna support Israel, which I disagree. I mean, there's such thing as support, but just getting involved in shit. And maybe that's why. If they did ask for a truce, I'm gonna take that with a grain of salt. It's not that I don't believe you, but if they did, it may be for that reason. Like, shit. The Americans are coming. You know what? Never mind. Maybe not. Probably not. I don't know. Take that. You can also take that with a grain of salt. But not to mention, Israel's not a pushover. Like, not even in the slightest when it comes to their military power.
From the 1950 Armistice Agreement line at the Gaza Strip, the extent of the militants' advance appears to be about 20 kilometers away from the border. So these roads here that we can see leading out of Gaza are protected by checkpoints. Video evidence shows right outside Gaza, this outpost was breached by Palestinian militants. Here we see militants captured a Namer heavy armored personnel carrier, and it's fitted with an expensive high-tech trophy active protection system that shoots down incoming RPGs. There also looks to be a Merkava Mark IV main battle tank left behind. Each of those systems costs about $6 million. Now, Israel has an estimated 220 Namer IFVs and 400 Merkava tanks according to open source intelligence, so the loss of a dozen armored vehicles won't be a strategic level loss. But from Hamas's point of view, it's a major PR victory that they can parade these armored vehicles.
When it comes to Hamas are the terrorists in this situation, correct? So if we compare this to America, Israel is essentially America and Hamas is essentially the Taliban. Do I have that correct? And when it comes to terrorists and people like this, they will always use the smallest victories to make it seem like they're winning, or to make it seem like, you know, they've won the day or seized something important. And it's all part of their propaganda just to gain traction. and just to, I guess sort of boost the morale and the ego of, their militants and their participants. Taliban used to do this all the time, man. They used to do this all the time. They would have one modicum of success, like a shred of victory, and then they would think they were just hot shit for some fucking reason. Like, bitch, you still losing. You're still losing. Like, we're still wiping the floor with you. It's taking us forever, but we still beat your ass every single fucking time. So, that's probably what it is.
Around Gaza now. Satellite mode on the live conflict map shows us the geography of the terrain located just outside the Gaza Strip, inside Israel where the fighting is largely taking place. This area is flat, open fields and farmland that stretches.
Oh, that's a shitty environment to fight in. There's no cover. Anywhere. Man, that guerrilla warfare probably sucks. Fuck fighting in this type of terrain. Just like very open, no cover, farmland, open area, like, oof. A lot of long distance engagements, and if it happens in this area, this is not the terrain I would want to fight in, I'll tell you that.
Built up areas. Further to the south is the desert arid region. Israel had relied on fences and barbed wire as protection and defenses here. They possibly didn't expect an organized attack pre-planned to destroy these obstacles. The southern region of Israel is one of 6 different regions in the country. Its population in the southern region is about 79% Jewish and 12.7% Arab and Muslim. The population of the southern district is just over 1 million people, and its area is 14,185 square kilometers. It's the largest district in terms of land area, but the most sparse.
Damn, this is a beautiful area right here. I will say that.
Populated. It covers most of the Negev desert as well as the Araba Valley. Looking at these Israeli outposts that are being overrun and attacked, they remind me of the outposts I lived on when I was in Iraq. We're talking about small combat outposts with likely 2 squads of 20 soldiers or a platoon.
Probably on top of a mountain or a hill or just entrenched somewhere with like inside of a basin or something,
of 40 soldiers rotating through the outpost. The way it works is 40 soldiers are on duty, manning guard towers, doing patrols, while the other 40 are off duty from the rotation, possibly back at a larger base. Obviously, not many troops here protecting these areas. The base is probably about the size of a football field or 2, and its main defense is that
it's actually pretty big in comparison to some of the outposts that I saw when I was in Afghanistan, size of a football field. I guess that's like standard size for a forward operating base, if you think about it. More or less, maybe slightly smaller, yeah. But then you have like, that's a fob, your OPs and shit like that, like, those are always going to be somewhat smaller than a football field for the most part. It depends on what the mission is for that particular location, on how big it will be, how many troops it'll have, and like what the operations will be like. And that usually most of the time determines the size.
That it's surrounded by slabs of concrete walls that are 12 feet high and several inches thick, so they're rated to stop small arms and RPGs. This type of outpost has a major weakness though, its entrance gate, where the concrete stops and opens up. An outpost like this would have between 4 and 8 armored vehicles likely stationed here. Gun battles are raging here where the IDF is pouring in to try to reclaim these outposts, strategically along the roads leading out of Gaza here. Each are equipped well enough to slow down a major offensive, but they're not really designed to stop an overwhelming force, and clearly they were caught by surprise. Outposts and checkpoints along the roads.
Oh, Israeli Defense Force. Yeah, it's different.
Slowed down Hamas and gave Israel time to coordinate a larger retaliation attack. But Hamas still reached several major towns with populations of around 30,000 people. You can see here in the live conflict map that all of the orange tags inside of Gaza Strip that you're looking at here are Israeli retaliatory strikes, including artillery and air sorties. Some of the icons show helicopters.
A lot of air superiority, especially right here in the slap middle of Gaza. And then I don't know what this icon is that looks like a helicopter. I guess lots of ground fighting. I assume that's what this is right here. This red little icon with the AK on it. That's probably a lot of ground warfare maybe. I wish I had a fucking, what's that thing called? On a map where it tells you what things mean.
Helicopters, which tells us that Israel's AH-64 Apache attack helicopter is going to work on targets inside Gaza with the AGM-114 Hellfire missiles or Hydra rockets. Israel has a total of 81 attack helicopters of different varieties. Dozens of Israeli Air Force fighter jets struck Hamas targets inside the Gaza Strip on October 7th. According to the Israeli Air Force, 17 Hamas military compounds and 4 command headquarters of Hamas throughout the Gaza Strip were struck on October 7th.
Damn.
Israel operates the American-made F-15, F-16, F-35, and the French Mirage 2000 bomber with an inventory
I don't think it's looking good for Hamas, but
of about 580 combat aircraft in total. Hamas reportedly struck 4 Israeli helicopters with surface-to-air missiles so far, likely with the Russian-made handheld 9K-38 Igla.
yeah, but those are helicopters. These F-15s, you're gonna have to work a lot harder to bring those fucking things down.
Part of the reason this attack is concerning for Israel is because preliminary reports indicate that Hamas struck deep enough to force Israel to evacuate one of their air bases near the Gaza Strip, according to this video evidence that
Damn, that's rough. That just takes out so many aircrafts that could quite possibly be in service at the moment.
we see here. Jets are being moved to safety.
Yeah.
Reports on the ground claim Hamas gunmen are opening fire on any Israeli cars that pass by in the town of Sderot. The fighting is happening in Sderot at the police station here. This city has a population of about 30,000 people, and it's located less than 1 mile from the Gaza Strip. Israel spent over $150 million on bomb shelters here due to the fact that over 8,000 rockets have been fired at them since 2001. Footage on social media show firefights raging inside this city, and Hamas gunmen appear to be patrolling the countryside here at this point in time. I've gone through and watched all of the videos that have been posted online, and there's a lot
They operate just like the Taliban, bro.
I'm not going to show you here, and it's the kind of things you probably wouldn't want to see anyway.
Oh no, I want to see it. I thank you for not showing it because I can't see it. We can't watch that here on as much. Never mind.
Absolutely awful what's unfolding right now to the people who live here. The live conflict map shows us how Hamas used a homemade 114mm short-range Rajam missile.
Okay, so they're not like all the way just fucking like destitute when it comes to equipment. Hamas is pretty well armed. It's just from everything that I've seen so far, and just not just this video, but everything that I've noticed, I feel like as far as military might, Israel is still superior. Really. I mean, Hamas is deadly, but as far as like the equipment, the stuff that they have, I feel like one is better than the other, and that is Israel. Feel free to correct me if I'm wrong. That's just from the outside looking in. That's how that's what I'm seeing. Delta SEAL CIA operations in what? In country? Nah, man. I think Israel's got this, man. Really. Like, if we send humanitarian aid, that's fine, but like I feel like Israel's gonna survive this, man. They are. And I don't feel like this isn't gonna be the end of Israel. Damn sure isn't going to be the end of Hamas. This is just another chapter in their never-ending story of just perpetual war. So I don't think we need any CIA, Delta Force, Rangers, Special Forces, Navy SEALs. I don't think we need any of that over there. If we are going to help Israel, which again, that's something that I don't agree with, really. I just don't. But at the end of the day, allies are allies, and if we are going to help them, you know, humanitarian aid would probably be the best thing that they need, and or advice. I mean, because it really does seem like they're fighting the Taliban. So if anything, we could just give them some advice, maybe some feedback, maybe some tips on how to deal with this. But I don't know how much Israel is going to listen to us, because we were in Afghanistan for 20 fucking years and accomplished nothing. So we just gotta see how it plays out, really, for the most part. But as far as like ground troops, and you don't want to cause any more devastation than you need to. And anytime America steps foot anywhere, we bring destruction and devastation. Guys, I'm American. I served in the military. Believe me, everywhere we go is death and destruction. Okay, and there's no point in adding more fuel to this fire. It's already devastating. So I truly feel like the best thing we can do is just provide humanitarian aid and humanitarian effort. As far as combative aid, we should just wait. Really. Just wait.
In their offensive against Israel, which is a kind of rocket artillery meant to saturate an area, this is a tool that helped Hamas fire 5,000 rockets so quickly into Israel. There's usually only a 15-second warning from Israel's air defense system and alarm system when the rockets are first fired.
What about, Israel has something for this, right? Surface-to-air rockets and ground-to-air missiles and just like long-range capability projectiles. Doesn't Israel have a contingency for this? I swear, man, it's called the something the Iron Curtain, the Iron Dome, something like that. They have something for this. Have they deployed that at all? Whatsoever? The Iron Dome, yes. Have they deployed that? They have things in place to deal with this very thing. So
designed to overwhelm Israel's air defense system, attempting to shoot down these rockets.
Because if you shoot enough, man, power by volume, that's the way America does it, man. They're just like, fuck, America's like, fuck being accurate. We're just gonna shoot so many bullets at you that eventually one's gonna hit you. And the sheer volume of these rockets, there's only so much that they can defend against, that rockets are gonna get through, whether they like it or not. And, yeah, I don't know.
Rocket attacks have reached into Israel's capital city of Tel Aviv. This live update shows internet activity has gone down inside the capital from the attacks. Israel has
they're too busy. I wouldn't be on the internet if I was over there either.
170,000 active duty personnel, but they also have 465,000 reserve forces to pull from because service is mandatory in Israel, and according to their military, they're prepared.
I did not know that. Service is mandatory in Israel? Yo, color me fucking shocked. You learn something new every day. I did not know that.
Prepared to mobilize hundreds of thousands of reservists now in response to these attacks. Israel has conscription, and it's considered kind of a rite of passage for them.
Interesting.
You might wonder why there isn't a long trench along the entire region here. The reason the defenses are set up...
I think they're spread too thin, really.
As spread out checkpoints along the roads, instead of one long trench or one single front line, is partly because it would be extremely expensive and taxing on the Israeli army to man that fortification.
They're spread too thin. They don't have the personnel to man that much land, really. That's a long strip of fucking land. I mean, maybe America could do it, but, you know, American military compared to Israeli military is very, very different. But what did they say about like 400,000? So if we just decided to be generous with the numbers, let's say the Israeli military, as far as troop personnel, is sitting somewhere at, I don't know, between 500 and 700K at most, including reservists. That's they'd spread themselves too thin if they did that. They probably just need to focus on what Hamas is focusing on, or just get proactive and take the fight to Hamas, really, because that's the only way you're going to save your civilian population, truly, is to go to their backyard, because the last thing you want to do is fight on your own turf, and that's just so much destruction and death.
With thousands of soldiers year-round, if it was a clear front line that extended and stretched for 70 kilometers long around the entire Gaza Strip. So instead, troops are spread out to defend major population centers, and some of these places appear to have been overrun. Whether that's briefly or not yet, we don't know. Defense blog...
But at the same time, that can also fuck the Israeli military, because let's just say that Hamas decides to do some decent reconnaissance. They're just going to pick and choose the places that are not as fortified, because again, like I said, they are spread thin across this vast plot of land. So if they do proper reconnaissance and they pick and choose which ones they want to target, they can easily get a leg up on some of these checkpoints and some of these places that are being highly protected. But
.com reported at least 5 Israeli Merkava tanks have been captured, and 15 of Israel's tracked vehicles like the M113s are in Palestinian fighters' hands.
Damn.
The larger tanks probably aren't going to be as useful to Hamas because they likely wouldn't be able to maintain them or rearm them effectively for a long period of time, but the smaller armored vehicles would be an important asset for them. Militants fired an estimated 5,000 rockets into Israel so far during their offensive operation.
That's crazy.
Israel's facing between 25,000 and 40,000 militant fighters in this offensive.
Hold on, I was too busy. I gotta go back and hear what he just said.
Israel's facing between 25,000 and 40,000 militant fighters in this offensive.
Okay, so about 40k fighters that y'all are facing. I don't understand this chart. It says Afghanistan militia, which is obviously Taliban, between 30 and 60,000 fighters. What does Iranian influence have to? Why is this a thing? Iranian influence. You got country, militia, estimated size. Why is there an Iranian influence thing here? What am I missing? Explain this to me. Because it says Afghanistan, which is Taliban and Fatimiyon, if I pronounced that wrong, I'm sorry. Fatimiyon Brigade. Taliban weak, brigade strong. And which doesn't make any sense because the brigade is 10 to 15k, but the Taliban is 30 to 60. I don't understand this chart or how to even read it. Funds. Hey, we did give Iran $6 billion on some stupid shit. Okay, Syria has very, very strong Iranian influence, but they are very, very weak in size. Between 3 and 4,000 fighters. Lebanon's pretty strong as far as their Bahrain is unknown. No one knows how many fighters Bahrain has. It's wild. The only countries I see here that have weak Iranian influence is the Taliban, Hamas, and that's it. Very, very weak Iranian influence. Palestinian Islamic Jihad is moderate influence, and then Al-Sabarin is strong influence as well. Okay. All right, let's keep going.
Now you might say that's nothing compared to Israel's 170,000 active duty soldiers, but that's not exactly an accurate way to think about it because Israel's soldiers need to be spread out over the entire country for one, and they need to be relocated to the south now.
There's not that many of them and they're spread so thin that it's almost like you can't even see them. It's almost like they're not even there. That's what happens.
Second, a higher ratio of Israel's forces are support and logistics, not combat arms, infantry, or frontline troops. Third, many of those soldiers would not be on duty right now. The main IDF military base in this region is called Re'im, where the Gaza division was located, which was either captured by Hamas at one point or contested until about 8 p.m. local time when the IDF reported that they had recaptured it. So far, estimates place 200 Israeli KIA and over 1,600 wounded, and 5 soldiers as well as dozens of civilians are said to be captured by Hamas. Retaliation strikes from Israel reportedly killed 200 Palestinians and over 1,000 wounded as well. Although this is a developing situation, all of this information is subject to change. One of the ways we can confirm the extent of the offensive is satellite imagery of fire caused by the fightings, as seen here. The furthest extent of the fighting seems to be the town of Afkim in Israel with a population of 34,000 people. It's reportedly under attack and hostages have been taken here. It's about 22 kilometers from the Gaza Strip. According to the IDF, they're fighting at 22 different locations across southern Israel right now. We see here that Israel's second biggest power station, Rutenburg, just outside Gaza, was struck. Another geotag clash shows an Israeli Merkava tank taking a direct hit from a drone, dropping a bomb straight on top of its weaker top armor. This is a tactic that has recently become commonplace on the battlefield in Ukraine. Israeli tanks
I was just about to say that. We see a lot of this in Ukraine. Drone use
are designed with more armor on the top turret than some other countries because they're specifically meant to operate in urban conditions. So it's unclear from the footage how much damage was done to the tank.
Oh, that tank is done. That tank is that from the top. Maybe. If I'm dealing with tanks, I'm looking to just destroy the tracks. Because if you immobilize, it doesn't matter if it can fucking shoot, it can't move, and if it can't move, it's pretty much fucking pointless. But from the top. That's very devastating to one of those vehicles. And like you said, I don't know if those tanks are built the same way that our Bradleys and our Abrams are built, but that's a very devastating blow to one of those vehicles if it gets hit from above.
If it was totaled or still salvageable. What we do know is that the engine is located in the front of the Merkava, unlike the Abrams, so the fire in this video could be the engine up in flames.
Probably.
This strategy of using drones was also used against a remote weapon system that shows how easily these drones can take out expensive remote-controlled turrets.
Wow.
The section of territory highlighted in red on the map shows us the extent to which Hamas units have pushed into Israel. These sections are currently being contested, and we can see its limit that they've reached about 22 kilometers at its...
So what is the goal here? What is the goal for Hamas? We're covering all of the ground stuff right now, all of the logistical shit when it comes to the actual combat, but what does Hamas want out of this? That's what I want to know. Because when I looked up a couple of things a couple days ago and I was just, getting my feet wet with information, it really did seem like this was just about territory, and it was, it had a lot. The way I saw it is just, it had a lot to do with the religion and territory, the occupation of this territory, and then the people that are in this territory. I feel like it's all about control with like a sliver of just religious aspect to it. Am I right or wrong? That's what I thought. Territory. I feel like it's about territory, really. But a lot of the things that I saw and read, when I was first starting to, pay attention, it really did seem religious based, as well as territory based, as well as these people just don't fucking like each other, man. I just feel like there's a lot of religious hatred here. That's just, from the outside looking in, that's what it feels like. A lot of religious hatred. And, yeah.
For this point, although I've been watching
Jews versus Muslims, yeah.
Throughout the day, and I can tell you that the red sections have gotten smaller throughout the day. So we don't know where this is going yet. It appears like Israel...
Elaine, what's up?
...is already pushing the militants back. It's important to keep in mind that Palestinians in Gaza are ruled by the group known as Hamas that's doing these attacks right now, and the Palestinians in the West Bank are undersimplifying some of this, but the PLO receives aid from the United States and the European Union. The US sends about $500 million over the course of 3 years, and the EU has sent about $600 million per year to Palestine. The US perspective here is that they have attempted to send aid money to Palestine while attempting to prevent that aid from being used to fund military endeavors. Palestine has a population of 4.9 million people, and Israel has a population of 9.3 million. But who is Hamas in the first place? They're a militant movement and one of the Palestinian territory's two major political parties. Hamas is known for governing 2 million Palestinians. It was in 1988 that Hamas first published what is their charter. The charter basically called for the destruction of Israel, and they originally wanted to establish an Islamic society inside what is known as historic Palestine. Since then,
Hold on.
Is their charter. The charter basically called for the destruction of Israel, and they originally wanted to establish an Islamic society inside what is known as historic Palestine.
So, historic Palestine is Israel, and Hamas wanted to extend his reign of, I guess, the Muslim way. He wanted to extend it into more territory, which is Israel, and I guess Israel used to be the, what did he say?
They wanted to establish an Islamic society.
Yeah, okay. I got it right, pretty much.
It was in 1988 that Hamas first published what is their charter. The charter basically called for the destruction of Israel, and they originally wanted to establish an Islamic society.
So, Israel used to be the historic, original... I get it.
Inside what is known as historic Palestine. Since then, in 2017, Hamas has walked that back a little bit and created a new document that seemed to accept an interim Palestinian state along the quote-unquote green line border that was established before the Six-Day War. For regular old dummies like me, it can be confusing to figure out where Palestine is, because it includes the West Bank, which is territory between modern-day Israel and Jordan, as well as the Gaza Strip, which borders what's modern-day Israel and Egypt. These territorial lines have frequently changed over the past few decades, also making it more complicated. Sometimes, like in this case, a state, territory, or nation can be split into different parts that aren't connected to each other. When this happens, we say this territory is fragmented or discontinuous. Even talking about these kinds of seemingly
Israel's way bigger than Gaza, I'll tell you that, as far as like just sheer size of land.
Controversial aspects can get you into hot water, though, because 138 out of 193 countries recognize Palestine as an actual country. The United States does not. Meanwhile, 165 out of 193 countries recognize Israel as a country. When a territory is split, it can lead to political disputes, and conflicts may arise from these geographical divisions. From Israel's perspective, they're fearful that they could face attacks from both the east in Gaza and west from the West Bank. There's a route or corridor that connects the West Bank to Gaza Strip, which Israel monitors to make sure weapons aren't being shipped between them. To get an idea of what type of Hamas units are participating in this attack, we see here it's the Al-Qassam Brigades from the Sakir Squadron. They're one of the units participating in what Hamas is calling Operation Al-Aqsa Flood, although I've also seen it called Al-Aqsa Storm elsewhere. Israel's calling their...
So essentially, long story short, after this long-ass video, Hamas just wants to extend their Islamic State and their Islamic rule and their Islamic way of life further into the territory of Israel, and that's just not going to fly with Israel. So, like I said, fighting over territory, and quite possibly there's a shred of religion as religion is also a small motivator for Hamas, really. Again, from the outside looking in, that's just what it seems like.
Their response, their counteroffensive, Operation Iron Sword. What happens is many of these smaller outposts are getting hit, and now Israel will respond from larger bases that have been
positioned. Which I can respect fighting over territory more than I can respect fighting over religion. I'll never understand fighting over religion. I fucking hate this damn the holy war, bro. I've never been like, it's just it's such a out of all the things to fight for, man, out of all the things to fight for, I can respect fighting over territory a lot more than I can respect fighting over religion.
Further away from the front. The Israeli military did confirm that several towns are in Hamas's control as of October 7th. The United States Secretary of Defense Lloyd J. Austin made a statement about the attack, saying, quote, "Our commitment to Israel's right to defend itself remains unwavering, and I extend my condolences to the families of those who lost their lives in this abhorrent attack on civilians. Over the coming days, the Department of Defense will work to ensure that Israel has what it needs to defend itself and protect civilians from indiscriminate violence and terrorism. A large portion of Israel's military technology and equipment comes from the United States. There are U.S. troops stationed in Israel right now, and according to Brigadier General Pat Ryder, the Pentagon's top spokesman, these soldiers are safe and accounted for with no troop movements planned right now."
Good.
According to this...
Perfect. Just wait it out, man. Just wait it out for the time being.
U.S. government document, the U.S. in 2022 upped their military aid to Israel from $2.6 billion per year in 1999 to today standing at about $3.8 billion in assistance. Part of this aid was designed to make Israel's defense more self-sufficient, stating, quote, "U.S. military aid also has helped Israel build its domestic defense industry, which now ranks as one of the top global arms exporters. Israel spends 4.3% of their $488 billion GDP on defense, or about $23 billion in 2022.
How much do they spend?
Build its domestic defense industry, which now ranks as one of the top global arms exporters. Israel spends 4.3% of their $488 billion GDP on defense, or about $23 billion in 2022.
Okay, all right. Israel spends roughly $20-ish billion on defense. I didn't know that either.
Hamas, on the other hand, likely spends $1 billion.
In comparison to America, we spend everything. America, how much do y'all spend on defense? All of it. It's not even a number, man, just all of it. What'd you spend last year? Everything. What did it cost? Straight up Thanos style. Everything.
In fact, the US State Department claims Iran provides $100 million to Hamas each year. Although US sanctions against Iran after pulling out of the Iran nuclear deal might have limited this number more recently. Dozens of countries, including
It really didn't. We gave them $6 billion for some bullshit.
the United States, there is suspicion that Iran might have played a very direct role in helping to support and plan these attacks by Hamas against Israel. Why now? The suggested reason is that Iran is trying to prevent their main rival, Saudi Arabia, from normalizing ties with Israel. On the other hand, Palestinian news.
So the theory is that Iran doesn't want Saudi Arabia and Israel getting chummy with one another and getting close and becoming friends. Why? And because they don't want that, they are funding Hamas to fuck with Israel. Why don't they want that relationship to happen? That's an answer that I would like to have, I suppose.
Why now? The suggested reason is that Iran is trying to prevent their main rival, Saudi Arabia, from normalizing ties with Israel. On the other hand, Palestinian news outlets claim the attack is because 2023 has been the deadliest year for Palestine in over 2 decades, with 200 Palestinians being killed this year. So from Palestine's point of view, they're claiming that they say that this is because of atrocities committed by Israel. It could be a combination of several different factors. The United States would like to see Saudi Arabia and Israel sign some kind of agreement to normalize relations. According to the Saudi Crown Prince Mohammed.
Okay, so I guess instead of Iran fighting Saudi Arabia and fighting Israel, Iran is just instigating so that they can fight each other. Y'all ever see that movie, that Tom Clancy movie? Damn, what was it called? Where it's essentially like Nazi defectors or something that essentially get Russia and America to go to war with one another, right? Instead of just destroying one, you can just get them to destroy each other, right? Instead of going to war with Russia and then going to war with America and then fighting wars on 2 fronts, fuck it, just get them to destroy themselves. And I think that's what Iran might be trying to do. Sum of all fears, I think. Yes, essentially. That's kind of what it reminds me of. Like, ain't no point in fighting 2 wars on 2 fronts, man. And a lot of people will say that that's why Hitler failed. Is because he tried to fight the world all at once. Instead of just, moving sneaky and just getting your enemies to kill each other. And then you can just rise from all of that and be the best, right? That's kind of it's kind of how I see it a little bit.
Mohammed bin Salman. They're getting closer and closer to reaching a deal between Saudi Arabia and Israel. That alliance would have been very bad news for Iran. Since 2020, there's been a group of different Arab countries, including and led by the United Arab Emirates, that have opened up diplomatic relations with Israel. This is a concept known as rapprochement that's important to understand here. Rapprochement basically means an establishment or resumption of harmonious relations between 2 countries. And it appeared like the Middle East was possibly heading towards resolving some long-held disputes. The Saudi Foreign Ministry put out an official statement and called for an immediate halt to the fighting, protection for civilians, and they also noted its previous warnings to Israel about the effects of its ongoing occupation of Palestinian territory. That's what Saudi Arabia said. Here's footage of Iran's parliament yelling death to Israel, which might be why people believe Iran planned this attack. So these attacks by Hamas could be an attempt to prevent this alliance between Israel and Saudi Arabia from going through. What might happen from here on out is that Israel may launch wider attacks against Hamas in Gaza. I mean, if we look back at the 2008 conflict in Gaza, The war zone run by Tyler Rodgeway pointed out that at that time, Israel launched a 15-day-long ground assault into Gaza on January 3rd, 2009, and that attack resulted in 1,440 Palestinians being KIA and only 13 Israeli deaths. And according to a 2009 U.S. Congressional Research Service report, quote, Israel's technological superiority and reliance on heavy armor and firepower contributed to a wide disparity in casualties. So it's possible that we could see that happen again. It's also possible that Hezbollah could open up a second front in the north on Israel's northern border, or more attacks could come from the West Bank. If you want to stay in the loop and up to date on this issue, follow.
All right. There was a lot that I learned. There was a lot that we talked about, a lot that we broke down. There was a lot to be unpacked from that video, and I pretty much said everything that I think, man. It really just does. It reminds me of us fighting Taliban in Afghanistan, as far as like the combat goes. Really, all of the other political shit that's involved, like what he was talking about at the very end. That's whatever. I didn't give a fuck about the politics when I was deployed. But as far as being deployed and the combat of it and just the operations and the troops and stuff like that, it really just does remind me of I feel like this is just another case of, you know, us versus Taliban, but it's Israel versus Hamas. And I've seen a lot of video clips and I've seen a lot of footage, and they look like terrorists to me. Hamas does. I've seen terrorists before. They've shot bullets at me before, and I've shot bullets at them, and I've been around them. I know what they look like. I know how they operate. And most of the times, I know their ideals and shit like that, and that's just what it reminds me of. Really, they're just they're the aggressors in this situation. I know what terrorists look like, and yeah, that's it. If I hurt your goddamn feelings by saying that Hamas are a whole bunch of terrorists, sorry. That's what it is. That is what it is. I mean, there's people that support Hamas, which is kind of like, you know, crazy. I'm never gonna support someone who just walks up into a goddamn country and just like starts just mass killing a whole bunch of fucking people indiscriminately, right? Because we didn't do that in Afghanistan. We were just looking for the enemies, right? We were just looking for HVTs. We were looking for Taliban. We weren't just scorch earthing villages, okay? And it was just yeah. I've seen terrorists before, and I know what they look like, bro. And Hamas, y'all look the same. Y'all look just like the Taliban. Truly. Y'all are operating just like the Taliban. Y'all are behaving just like the Taliban. And we all consider them terrorists. So, is what it is. I really don't think that we should, as far as America's military might, I don't think that we should provide that kind of aid right now. It's still too early in this to tell, right? We have to have a little bit of faith and a little bit of confidence that Israel can hold their own, okay? And from what it looks like, from what I saw, Israel, I feel, is just technologically more superior than Hamas. I feel like Hamas don't have F-15s, bro. They don't. So, I mean, air superiority can always win the fucking day at the end of the day. But as far as like on the humanitarian level, as far as like medicine, aid, food, stuff like that, hell, even sending cots so that they don't have to sleep on concrete under a fucking destroyed building, like stuff like that, go ahead, man. But as far as like, you know, and we're already providing monetary aid at the same time, I just think it's too early for us to get involved militaristically. That's just my opinion. Yeah, I think that's everything we got as far as this goes. It's a very unfortunate situation. A lot of people, I've heard quite a few people say that this is Israel's version of our 9/11, just because the sheer amount of civilian casualties, death, destruction, chaos, and shit like that. And it's shitty, really. I mean, I don't even think that the war in Ukraine is as bad as this. I don't. And again, correct me if I'm wrong. I'm not trying to be right here. I'm not trying to be a know-it-all. I'm not trying to be the one that just has all the answers. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I don't remember this many fucking civilians dying right off rip, just like that, when it came to Russia and Ukraine. So, let's read a couple comments real quick, and then we'll move on because we've done dedicated quite a bit of time to this. I may upload this to YouTube in case y'all missed it, because I know one thing I hate about Twitch is you can't rewind the stream if you miss something. Very annoying. Something that I don't like. Something I wish they would fix. On YouTube you can, but we're not streaming on YouTube at the moment, so I'll probably upload this to YouTube for those of you who either missed it or whatever the case may be. And if you're watching this on YouTube, let me know what you think. Am I wrong in my feelings of it? Am I wrong in my assessments? Am I right? Let me know. Give me your opinion. Tell me what you think. Do you think that we should just start sending in a whole bunch of fucking troops and CIA and operatives and stuff like that to try to deal with the situation? Or should we just have faith that Israel can defend themselves and we'll be there to, wipe the blood off their chin if they get knocked down? It's just, because we're already giving them money, and man, I'm telling you, you can do humanitarian aid. That's always good. That's always a start, and I'm pretty sure they fucking need it. Like, they really, really do. So, no problems with that. It's just, as far as, us jumping into a war and just going in there and just start fucking pop, 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 pop. I think we should wait, really, and just see how this progresses and see how it goes, because who knows, man? Israel may just be like, they just may push these fuckers out, and that'll be the end of it. And on top of that, I don't think this will be the last time. I don't think this will be the last time that this happens, man. Even if Saudi Arabia and Israel sign whatever they need to sign to improve relations, you're still always going to have Hamas right there. He's always going to be right there fucking with you. And this has been an ongoing thing with these two countries and just like in this region of the world for centuries, man, for a long time. So this won't be the last time. Let's just wait and see how it goes. So let's read some comments. I feel really bad for the civilians on both sides. Yeah, that's never a good thing. If that's what you're saying, then yeah, I do feel bad for the civilians on both sides because they never win. They're the ones that lose the most, even if there is victory. Thank you for the straight coverage. There's so much grotesque tribalism in the media and social media, which makes sense since it's such a fearsome topic. I just want to support citizens caring for their homes and families wherever they live. I am from the region. This is more balanced and informative than any coverage I've seen on mainstream media. Arabic, Israeli, and international. A breath of rationality and humility to this ugly part of a very ugly conflict. Much respect. Yeah, and I haven't seen what these people are talking about as far as like the tribalism and stuff like that, but I can only imagine, especially here in America, you probably have a lot of people here in America that are sympathizing with Hamas, siding with them, and that's whatever, whatever. But since biblical times, this part of the world has been war torn. Facts. It never gets any easier to watch. Thank you for the matter-of-fact reporting on the subject. It's facts, man. A lot of countries in that part of the world have been at war for a long ass time, man. And because they've been at war for a long ass time, do you really think they give a shit what the Western world thinks? They don't. Really. They don't give a fuck what we think. That's it. That's their deal. That's their issue. That's their life. That's their reality, right? They don't give a fuck what we think. They don't give a fuck about our opinions. They don't give a fuck about our thoughts. They don't give a fuck about any of that. For them, they're in the process of survival at the moment. So, and for a lot of people, it's crazy the way that times have changed, because a lot of people aren't used to seeing combat live streamed on their phones. No one is used to seeing that, man. No one is used to seeing real-time war. I mean, just 10 short years ago, the only way you could see any of this shit is if you turned on CNN, or if you turned on MSNBC, or if you turned on some kind of international media outlet. That was the only way you were seeing this stuff. So now it's literally broadcasted to your fucking pocket. And there's a lot of people that are in shock when it comes to this stuff because they're not used to seeing it. They're not used to seeing it. They're not used to hearing about it. They're not used to it being in their face. So as far as the tribalism and the stupid takes and the social media and just like the grotesque views, people just need to get used to it. Really, that's what it is. They've never seen something like this before. They've never encountered something like this before. And social media has amplified everything so fucking much that it has everyone around the world just behaving crazy and thinking crazy. Because lots of people around the world don't know what combat's like. They don't know what war is like, right? And that's fine. I'm actually jealous of you that you don't know what it's like, but that's why a lot of people, with the stupid takes and just the in support, like, I support Hamas. No, bro, I support people not dying. Really. I don't really, there is no winners here at all. There is no winning and losing here. This is just bad for everybody, pretty much. And I think that's also a problem as to why people are saying and behaving ridiculous in regards to this, because they've never had it front and center in front of their face, right? They're having to get used to a new reality of war just being broadcasted to their fucking cell phone. And I don't feel like that's conducive to someone's day. It's just not. Like, you don't need to see that. The only people that need to see war are the people that are fighting in that war. Even simply just seeing war, it can cause stress, anxiety, PTSD, all these things. So, you have all these civilians and people that don't know shit about combat, people that don't know shit about the Middle East. They see this stuff and it's a brand new world to them and they don't know how to behave. It's a shit situation all around. The only thing I hope is that it ends. That's it. Not hoping for a winner, not hoping for a loser. I just hope it ends. That's it, because I would not want to be part of this situation at all whatsoever. And on top of that, bro, fighting at home, it's awesome when it comes to sports, right? Home field advantage. It's fucking devastating when it comes to combat. Fighting in your own front yard is devastating. Absolutely fucking devastating. So that's why I'm kind of thankful that whenever America goes to war, we're just going to come to your house. We're going to come to your house. We're going to play away because we're not going to play here. No fucking sir. We are not going to fight on the homeland. There's no way. Absolutely not. I'd rather just go to you. Really. I'll hop on the plane. I'll pay for the ticket. But yeah. Okay. All right.